Then what advantage has the Jew? You notice the title to this devotional? Well, the words are the opening verse to chapter 3, verse 1. We need to remember that Paul, he's writing a letter. Who's he writing it to? Well, to the Jews and the Gentiles, the Christians who are in Rome. That means that the whole book of Romans, the whole book, it continues on and on. What is it? Well, it's Paul's explaining from what he's thinking about. It's like when we are thinking and we are writing a email or a letter that we're going to send to someone. But Paul, his letter, it is a lot longer, a lot longer. And one of the reasons is because a long time ago, at that time, they didn't have email, of course, or post office. You know, they couldn't just drop it off the post office. No. So Paul, he writes a very long, long letter. He finishes it, and then he sends it once. It takes a long time. It goes by messenger for it to finally arrive there. So, Paul's writing, it's not like that, he wrote chapter 2 and finished, put that subject aside, and now we have a new subject on chapter 3, something different. No. Paul, he's meditating on this, the same subject he's writing about. So we read in the last 2 verses of chapter 2 straight into chapter 3. For no one is a Jew who is merely one outwardly, nor is circumcision outward and physical. But a Jew is one inwardly, and circumcision is a matter of the heart, by the Spirit, not by the letter. His praise is not from man, but from God. Now, Paul, he is opening chapter 3, and he's dropping 2 questions in verse 1. Then what advantage has the Jew, or what is the value of circumcision? Next, in verse 2, Paul, he immediately answers his first 2 questions. Much in every way, to begin with, the Jews were entrusted with the oracles of God. Then what advantage has the Jew? Much in every way. Or what is the value of circumcision? To begin with, the Jews were entrusted with the oracles of God. First, before we start studying verses 1 and 2 of chapter 3, I want us to remember the lesson that Paul taught us in chapter 2, the Jewish Christians there. Remember that they are not of any higher standard than any other person. They are not. We are all equal before God. We all have the same righteousness given to us through our faith in Jesus Christ. It is the same with non-believers. They are all equal before God. For Christians, we are all equally righteous before God, period. Now, back to Paul's question. The question was, do the Jews have the advantage? Yes. And the other question, their outward circumcision, is it of value? Yes. Paul, his teaching here does not contradict what he taught in Romans chapter 2. Does not. He will go on and explain more and more in chapter 3. The apostle will go on and elaborate more about God giving his law to a special group, the Jewish people. Special group? Yes. God gave his law from the Old Testament to the Jewish nation. We should not be surprised, no. We know that God chose the Jewish people as a people for himself. The people whom I formed for myself, that they might declare my praise. The Jewish people are the first group that God gave the revelation of himself to through his word in the Old Testament. But, praise God, we who have faith in Jesus Christ for salvation have full access into all the blessings that God has given to the Jewish people. I encourage you to read all of chapter 3 in Romans. Read it and meditate on it for a few days, and that will help you to understand as we go through our verse-by-verse study in the chapter. Coram Deo.